The persistence of free will has always been a heated debate among mortals, but among vampires, the sweet addiction of drinking vampiric blood seems to change their mind. Famously, there have been two vampires who always spoke out against the slavery of the blood bond, Vasantasena and her sire, Unmada, from Clan Malkavian. They reject any loss of free will, whether due to the powers of the blood or even to traditionally oppressive kindred hierarchies. They spoke out against the vicious conflict between the Antediluvians and refused to join the Camarilla, siding with the Sabbat doctrine against the ancestral vampires. When the Sabbat rejected Vasantasena's ideologies and created their own hierarchies, she rejected them in turn, taking a faction of Malkavians with her. Descendants of Vasantasena are as diverse as the night sky, all possessing the zeal and charm of their founder, fighting for some cause, no matter which sect they call home. Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our World of Darkness and the Laws of the Night playlist. In this playlist, we go over LARP, live action roleplay rules for Vampire the Masquerade, which are presented to us by Mind's Eye Theater and by Night Studios. So, Loresheets in the book are marked down as a special type of background advantage. You can buy these at character creation, or with your storyteller's permission, you can buy them after your character's already been in play for some time. This is something that you're going to want to talk to your storyteller about, because not all lore sheets will fit within the confines of a chronicle. Lore sheets are a special way of not only giving your character a special advantage or advantages in gameplay, but also tying them in to the overall background meta plot within the Vampire the Masquerade storyline. I have found as a storyteller that lore sheets tend to be ignored at character creation just because it's a new mechanic and people don't exactly know what it is. Now, depending on when you're watching this, or even in your chronicle setting, this might not be true for you. You could very well have a game there people are obsessed with lore sheets, and with good reason. People who are used to playing Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition tabletop will know the benefits of lore sheets and exactly what they can do for your character. And there are several options in Laws of the Night and in future publications coming out from by Night Studios. That being said, I do want to point out that lore sheets are a lot different in LARP than they are in tabletop. In the tabletop setting of Vampire the Masquerade, lore sheets are going to add a special nuance to your character sheet. You might get a bump here and there in a background or even a discipline power because you have an associated lore sheet. However, in LARP, lore sheets tend to be a heavier hitting mechanic. They give you massive advantages, and they also should be something that are limited in a game, maybe only allowing a certain number of people out of a larger group to take that amount. Or you could build an entire chronicle completely around a lore sheet. Another huge difference from tabletop to LARP is that, much like all other backgrounds in LARP, the lore sheets are limited to 3 different advantages instead of 5 as they are in tabletop, as there is a condensed way of running things, as with all backgrounds in LARP, compared to tabletop. Purchasing lore sheets can be done with your free points at character creation. At character creation, you get 7 free background traits, and you are completely allowed to dump those points into a lore sheet, getting those free dots. And I want to stress that very much because there's a difference between dots and experience traits. At character creation, you will be given a free amount of experience traits to flesh out your character, to make them an individual. And when you have those are to be spent as experience points. Backgrounds are purchased at 3 experience per dot. But with your 7 free traits of dots, you can just take the points completely without worrying about the expanded cost when it comes to experience. That being said, if you wanted to buy the Sect Veteran Loresheet, for example, taking that would cost you 6 of your 7 free dots of backgrounds. However, if you're going to buy it with your free XP at character creation, it would cost you 3 points for a level 1, 6 points for a level 2, and 9 experience points for a level 3. Bring the total to 18 points if you wanted to buy a complete lore sheet. Now, personally, I am the kind of person who likes to buy things little by little over time so that my character has a chance to grow into what those advantages are. That is my style of playing. It is not the only style of playing. And being able to start with a small amount of a lore sheet to build up the tension is a lot of fun. With that being said, you do not have to buy these in order of experience. You do not have to start with level 1. You could very well start with the 3-point background instead, because what these are associated advantages with the meta plot that your character can take advantage of in any order they wish. You could buy a 1, you could buy 1 and a 3, you could buy just the second one. You can do it any way you want to. And that needs to be kept in mind, that these are not a progression style trait. In that way, multiple characters could start with the same lore sheet and have completely different advantages for taking it. So tonight we're talking about the Descendants of Vasantasena. The lore sheet that is going to be a tongue twister for all of you, probably. Anyway, Vasantasena is a very interesting character who just refuses to back down from the whole concept of freedom. She has been a member of the Sabbat and rejected their ideologies due to the fact that they were oppressive. And it's a very interesting thing that there's not that much information about her. You can find information on the wiki about her specifically. Find her in a couple of books here and there. Primarily the information that I have on her are the lore sheets themselves. So where are the differences between the tabletop lore sheet and the LARP lore sheet? Let's hop into those and figure that out right now. Investing 1 dot in this lore sheet gets you sent the bond. Vasantasena hated blood bonds. This led her to target the Antediluvians for enslaving their offspring. She was skilled at smelling the bond in individual vampires and those who had enslaved them. Once per month, you may target a vampire and make a resolve plus awareness test, difficulty at 4. If you succeed, you can smell if they have been blood bonded and learn the identity of the character they are most strongly blood bonded to, so long as they reside in your city. I think it's interesting that this one is separated by time. The idea of you can only smell it every once in a while, I think it has more along the lines of you have to take the time to clear the air, so to speak, to make it so that you can tell the difference. Because not only are you smelling a bond on an individual, and to be 100% honest, if you stop and think about it, all vampires are going to have a slight scent of the blood bond because they've been embraced. The younger the vampire, the harder it is probably to tell. But you're actually identifying the individual vampire in which they are bound to. I think that could come up and be fairly interesting in any situation. Investing 2 dots in this lore sheet gets you Agent of Chaos. Vasantasena's dedication to principles of free will was as legendary as her ability to resist those who would bind her. You have inherited a small amount of this power. Once per game session, when you are called upon to resist a mental or social challenge that would inhibit your free will, you may gain 1 hunger to automatically win the challenge. I enjoy the whole concept of this one, primarily because what it means is your beast overpowers the individual who is trying to subjugate you in some fashion. If you're being mentally set upon by dominate or presence or even in mundane means, you have the ability to go, I am just going to take a hunger, rousing my beast so that it fights off the issue. This just might be my way of looking at it, but as a storyteller, I can see this coming in some very stressful moments in game, and I highly appreciate that. Investing 3 dots into this lore sheet gets you Destroy the Bond. Vasantasena mastered a method of destroying the blood bond, which you have learned from your ancestors. Once every 3 months, you may carry out a ritual that requires you to drink a mouthful of the thrall's blood. This does not cause you to become partially bound to them. You must then ride out an immediate frenzy of a type selected by your storyteller. Once the ritual is complete, the blood bond suffered by the thrall is destroyed. Things like this really make me wish that I knew the whole monologue that the character Hesha gave in the Fall of Atlantis series when talking about the blood bond. I'm pretty sure it was something like, there are 7 ways to break the blood bond, 1 is unforgivable, 3 are mythical. It just goes into all these these little details, but it's so vague and it doesn't tell you what any of them are. And I think 1 was a lie or something like that. But I like the fact that there are ways in 5th edition storyline to break a blood bond. And the fact that this is carried over into the live action edition of Vampire the Masquerade really gives an interesting a way of play, because how many people are going to want their blood bonds broken when they're established, and also how many people are going to trust a troop of effectively hippie Malkavians who can say, oh, I can set you free with this weird ritual that I can do once every 3 months. It's a very interesting way of going about things, but the fact that it does in fact break the blood bond, I don't know. I guess I expect my players to play out what their characters would do and not just what the mechanics of something says. I want to follow the mechanics, but I think there should be some resistance when it comes to that kind of thing. So that was the lore sheet Descendant of Vasantasena, which is for Malkavians only. And it leads a lot about free will and blood bonds, and Vasantasena is just such an interesting character as she is. I haven't had a chance to utilize or to storytell with this lore sheet yet, but it's I don't know, it just always keeps me guessing on what is the World of Darkness going to throw at us next. I am Voivode Maquette, and thank you for joining me as we are going through the lore sheets that are found in Laws of the Night, which are the live-action vampire rules by Night Studios. So thank you again very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Good evening.